Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen.
Okay, welcome to this week's Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen. It's my turn this week, and my question was, imagine you're going to a party somewhere, and you're meeting someone for the very first time at that party, someone you don't know. What are the maybe one or two questions that you might ask someone you don't know that will give you some insight or let you get to know that person kind of right away, or gain some good insight in that person. So I have two questions. One would be, what kind of things do you like to do for fun, or hobbies or something? If somebody says, "Oh, I like to play basketball and go to sports bars," I can imagine that's someone that I probably wouldn't want to really spend time with. They're probably very competitive and they're into sports, and I'm not into sports. You could ask them any number of things. If they said they're into reading the dictionary, then I might be into that. I don't know. You can go on from there. The other question I might ask somebody would be, where did you grow up? Not where are you from, but where did you grow up? Because I think that's a little more granular. They could say, "Oh, well, I grew up in Center City, Philadelphia," or I grew up in Dubai or somewhere. They don't have to get into their ethnic background or anything like that. You can find out more about, are they a city person? Are they a country person? They might get into like, "Oh, well, we had a family of 17 and we lived on a farm in Ireland." So I think you might gain some more insight. So anyway, those are my two questions.
All right. Well, to answer first, I want to answer Wavy Gravy over there's questions. First, what do I do for fun? I don't have fun. No, I'm just constantly in some sort of work cycle. So I'm not really into fun. And where did I grow up? I was born in Tupelo, Mississippi. Thank you very much. Now make me a peanut butter and banana sandwich. All right. So this is probably the easiest question anyone's ever given me. There's really only one question you should ask people. And when I'm done, we can just go to recommendations. The question is, what's your favorite episode of Fawlty Towers? And the reason you ask this is, first, you'll get people who like, "Well, I've never seen it," which means that they may have grown up. See, this answer is, where are you from? They probably grew up in an extinct volcano in Borneo somewhere. Or, they just, I once encountered a really snooty woman, and I asked her that, and she's like, "I've never seen the show." I'm like, "Oh, so your parents didn't love you." So so that's one of the things. Or you get the person that immediately goes, "I don't own a television." I'm like, "Oh, pal, I am going to," yeah. So that's the first group of people. So I can immediately shove them to one side. I can put those folks to one side, and I can forgive some of the people who haven't seen it. I mean, you can look it up on YouTube. So if you were deprived of it but you're interested, you can come into my circle a little bit more. And then there are the people who there are two correct answers for when you ask somebody what their favorite episode of Fawlty Towers is. Either it's the Germans, as in, don't mention the war, or Basil the Rat, as in, he's hamster, he's Siberian hamster, which probably the two greatest episodes of television ever. They define, if I meet somebody and they know those, I immediately say, "Hey, if you can you do these three things for me?" And by Tuesday, and they'll do them. I'll have them by Monday. It's just, for some reason, it just seems to be a thing where just people on my frequency love those two things. I cannot, if you've never seen them, first of all, it means your parents didn't love you, but also go out right now and find the Germans and Basil Rack. There's only 12 episodes of this show, Fawlty Towers, with John Cleese. It's like an anti-sitcom, but what you do is just go back and maybe start with the first and go through. But I often will find myself pulling a Basil Fawlty. We're like, so yeah, I relate to the character a lot. He's heavily flawed, very angry, and it's just a question I ask. So I hope that's understood. And now we're just going to skip over Joe and go, all right, here we go, Joe.
I would ask the person What did you have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner yesterday? I think I'll get some insight into, maybe do they eat breakfast or do they skip breakfast, or what do they care about their nutrition, or do they have wine for breakfast or lunch? Do they have a liquid dinner? Because I think if they had noodles, I know I can get along with them. If they eat a lot of fast food, I don't know. Or maybe they don't eat anything at all. And if that doesn't go well, then I would ask the follow-up question, what are the contents of your wallet or purse? And maybe they will actually
hand them over.
Huh? Maybe they don't have one. Maybe they're a free person that doesn't carry these things. But maybe they have a lot of money. I don't know. Maybe they have credit cards. Maybe they have a lot of lipstick, and who knows? But I can get some information that way. They might empty their purse, and that starts a conversation of things. Like, what is this switchblade you have in here for?
Keep thinking of the young ones where he takes out the tampon, he thinks it's a gift. Like, oh, mousy.
Right, maybe they have condoms, and that could tell you they don't want to have children, or they don't want to get an STD, or they're sexually active. I don't know.
I can confirm that Joe loves noodles. If Joe's coming over to my house, I make sure I have plenty of noodles. And Joe and I were considering creating a fake morning DJ team, like drive time DJ team, and it was going to be called Noodles and the Hyperactive Abortionist.
Oh yeah, I came up with that Noodles character name.
It's Noodles and the Hyperactive Abortionist.
You eat noodles, I'd probably get along with you. But they say you are what you eat. At least some people say that. I don't know. I'm done.
You are.
I think if I like finding out if people are musicians, and if so, what instruments they play, and then if it's something that they did from a young age or just like picked up at some point. It's interesting to find like how many different types of people like start music at a different age, and how much they retained if they stopped at a young age or whatever. But the other thing would be if they like mustard. And it has to be like, you really like mustard, you just kind of like mustard, or you hate mustard. I like to know if people like mustard.
I really like mustard.
I really like mustard.
I like mustard.
Yeah.
I like spicy brown.
We all do. That's good. That's good to know.
We're a pro mustard band. We're putting it out there. We don't care what you think of us. We are pro mustard. Go ahead, take it us. We dare you.
You guys like the spicy mustard too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like all kinds of mustard. Yeah, except mustard gas. We're not pro mustard gas.
So,
no, let's just go. Yeah, we're going to go out on a limb on that one. That's hot take. We're against the use of chemical weapons.
Okay, well, those are all good answers. Yeah, thanks for answering the question.
Yeah, that was a cool question. It made me think a lot. One I thought actually of saying was where people stand on Black Lives Matter, but I feel like at a party, I would be nervous that I would get too heated if somebody, started to say something that was ignorant.
I'm never at a party with dickheaded right-wingers. I have never been. Like, Dan, wouldn't you notice like the pointy hoods and stuff? I goose-stepped all the way over here, so I'm very tired.
I think one of the worst.
Mention the war. Basil,
Right. I think one of the worst questions that most people fall into is, "Oh, where do you work?" I could give a crap about where you work. So
I feel bad for little kids. Little kids get the same. I never ask I ask little kids what their favorite episode of Fawlty Towers is. I never ask little kids, "Do you go to school? What's your favorite subject? How old are you?" God.
I do like when people ask what I do, because I get to say I'm a sexton, and they're always like, "Oh." And then sometimes people are like, "Oh, I know what it is." But when they don't know what it is, it's sometimes I'll just kind of I'll just be like, leave it at that and walk away.
I work on a sailing ship. I look to the stars and tell the captain where to go.
Sexton, yeah.
All right. Do we move on to the recommendations?
Yay,
portion of the show?
recommendations.
All right. I guess I go first again. Same
Yep.
order. So I have two recommendations tonight. Both are food related. The first one is a new seasoning that I got. Let's see if I can show it to you. It's called Not Just Bagel seasoning. It's like everything bagel. It's got garlic and salt and poppy seeds and sesame seeds and all kinds of good stuff like you get on an everything bagel. But you can sprinkle it on anything like toast or with butter or with cream cheese, or it's good on fish. Like if you're broiling or grilling fish, it's good on that. Highly recommended. You can find it online somewhere. Not Just Bagel seasoning. And the other thing I have is also food related. It's relating to grilling. It comes in this really cool carrying case. It's not a recorder. It's they're skewers. They have really pointy ends, but they're flat and they're wide.
Ooh.
And they have this cool end on the other end. And they're about 17 inches long. And they're good skewers for shish kebabs or putting vegetables on a grill, and also fighting off enemies while you're out at the grill. But the good thing about them is because they're flat and wide, stuff doesn't like spin around. Like when you turn them over, they actually turn over, which is a real pain in the ass if you've ever tried to grill with just straight skewers. So they're called Bear Moo skewers. You can find these online as well. So those are my two recommendations for this week.
Going back to your bagel seasoning, there's an episode of 19 Kids and Counting, or 19 Kids and Clanning, as I always called it, where they gave them bagels to feed the animals, and they, surprise, surprise, they'd never seen bagels before. Sort of round Jewish food. I don't know. I can't wrap my head around this. Okay, so this week we're going to start off with a thing, and this, if you have a small home studio, you cannot not have one of these. This is the Korg Nano Control 2. It's only about $70, and when you have it, if you use like I do, DAWs, DAWs, digital audio workstations, you can't move using a mouse. You can't move all the faders at once, so you just map these out, and it's great because when people are over and I'm doing this, they're like, "Ooh, it's almost like being in a real studio," and I'm like, "Oh, please, kill me." So yeah, the Korg Nano Controller 2, only about $70, but makes your studio life easier. Speaking of studio life and producing and all that stuff, I want to recommend HiWatt Sounds. It's Ken HiWatt Marshal. He does videos showing how to produce stuff. But guys, he's kind of like, he's very amiable. Now, I should point out, he does a lot of stuff for like Skinny Puppy. He did like the remix of Angriff. So, you know, he's working like Bill Lee. He's really amazing, but he works in like really angry sort of music. But he's the most amiable guy. He reminds me in some ways of Dave Reckner. Folks, Dave Reckner's our manager, very amiable. But the guy, like Ken Marshall, will be like, if people are arguing in the studio, like, you know, no, I want pizza with anchovies. No, I want it with sausage. He'd be like, hey guys, let's just be happy we're having pizza. So he's like really awesome, and he gives great tips. He gave a great tip about sometimes when you put a heavy verb on something, it gets very muddy in the mix. And he's just like, you know, it's very friendly. It's like, just put a high pass filter between your source and that reverb. I'm like, holy shit, that works. That's brilliant. So he's come up with lots of stuff. He's a lot of fun to watch, and I heavily recommend him. I give a third recommendation, which is sort of out of the box. I want to recommend Joe's Instagram feed. Joe has been doing a series lately called People Who Should Still Be Alive. It is freaking awesome. So I really, really recommend. We'll have the link up somewhere. Wait, what you got there? You got some of them, Joe? Lean that in towards the camera, young fella. Young Joseph. We want to see more of that, yeah. And these have been stamps of people who were murdered by the police and should still be alive. Some of these people were out back with a cell phone and was mistaken for a gun. And if I only had $1 for every time I mistaken the cell phone for a gun, I wouldn't have any money because I've never mistaken a cell phone for a gun. So yeah, please check out those three things: the Nano Controller, Ken HiWatt Marshal, and Joe's Instagram feed.
I would like to recommend a documentary that was brought to my attention or recommended to me by Peter Nocerini of Iron River, Michigan. And it's called Rumble, the Indians who changed, what is it? What is it called? Rumble, the Indians who rocked the world. The Indians, meaning indigenous Native Americans. And it starts out featuring Link Ray, and I didn't know he was a Native American, but he was. But basically the premise of the documentary is that Native American music is actually at the root of blues and rock and roll, and all the things that come out of blues, and they explain it, and it's actually really interesting, even though it has a lot of the same talking heads you might see in other documentaries. It actually goes into how horrible our white culture was to the Indians, to genocide and whatnot, but it also has a lot of music that's really cool and explains why Link Ray, why people probably don't know, a lot of these people who are famous, that they actually have a Native American background. The other thing I'd like to recommend is a Bandcamp compilation called 19 Notes on a Broken System, and it's a compilation of Philadelphia area bands who, and it benefits the Philadelphia Community Bail Fund and the Amistad Law Project, and great bands like the Ire, the Ramones, which is like a Ramones, a mom Ramones band. They do a song called "Gritty as a Punk." It's really cool. There's the Dark Thoughts, that punk band. Solar Eyes, who the Dead Milkmen played with, and actually the Dead Milkmen are on it. So that's, even though the Dead Milkmen are on it, you should probably check it out.
Yeah, we're the worst band on it. Yeah, it kills. It was like, it's always good, and we're the last band on it. And I had to listen to a whole bunch of really.
I think we were the last band that be asked to be on it.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't feel so good.
What you got, Dan?
I would recommend, if just get rid of your stuff. Just get rid of it. I don't even sell it. Someone else will take it. Let's get rid of it.
On the curb.
Yeah, don't be an episode of Hoarders. I watch Hoarders all the time, and the people are making excuses.
Don't let books sit on the shelf. Don't let books sit on the shelf. People should be reading them. Yeah. I'm getting into moving mode, so I'm just like, I want to get rid of all this shit. So yeah, if you are in this day and age with everything how it is, give it away to people. I've had a lot of people being very generous because we're in this pre-moving phase that are offering a lot of like furniture and stuff for us. It's really cool. So recommend doing that to others.
You watch Hoarders, Dan? You ever see that show?
What is it?
Hoarders.
Oh, Hoarders. Chrissy and I made it through 2 episodes.
I watch it over and over again. I'll watch some of them 7 or 8 times.
We showed the kids and they like almost started to cry. I was like, yeah, that's.
It is like, we are not rid of your shit. Yeah, people are like, they seem to be surprised to realize that they're living in a pile of shit. It's like,
it's one of the first episodes. I think it's like the 2nd episode. There's the really old lady who lives alone, and they go through, like the camera crew and everybody's going through it. And one guy actually ends up gagging and leave the room because it's filled with food that she got at discounted prices that she just couldn't get rid of. And I think it's actually kind of sad because I think she was like Depression era child, so I think she had this like anxiety about not having enough food. So she would, and it would be like 10 years old, and and not even in like a freezer or fridge, and like there was a pumpkin, and she's like, oh, some of these seeds are still good, and that's when the sound guy with the boom mic was like gagging, and he left the room.
That's a classic one. That's the one where they're first looking through their living room. Her living room was like, well, there's no rotten fruit or anything else. She goes, oh, no. Well, except the pumpkin. Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. No, who hasn't? Yeah.
So yeah, I recommend get rid of your shit.
Yeah. You'll be happy to have the space. People think you want the stuff. No, you're happier with the space. I go through, and especially since I've been working from home, and I wipe stuff out of here all the time.
The beauty is someone else will take it. Someone wants it.
Joe gave me a whole bunch of stuff to hang on to, and it's out of here. It's gone. It went on to the curb. Oh, sorry about that, Joe.
I had a little, just last week, I had a little, back in my yard, I had a little, like, it was like a 10-foot tall plastic shed that I used to keep some yard tools and stuff in. And we moved some stuff around in the yard and I didn't have room for it anymore. I didn't need it. And I just had it in the backyard and I was going to put it out. We have something in our town called Big Pickup where you can just call up the borough and they'll come by and pick your crap up that you don't want anymore, furniture. But I had it sitting in my backyard waiting for that day. And my neighbor walks by and said, "Hey, where'd you get that shed?" And I said, "Do you want it?" He said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll take it." And I helped him carry it to his backyard and it was gone. Bye-bye.
We have a thing in South
Problem solved.
Pickup, but yeah, you don't want to get involved in it. I should have a friend.
So anyway, real life, true story. So.
Yeah. I think we've come to the end of another episode.
What time is it?